Mutes. All right, perfect. There we go. I think we're all set, ready to go. Everybody's muted. So hey everybody, welcome to our very first AWE Nite SF event in collaboration with AWE New York and the Spatial team.
Woo! Congratulations.
Yeah, woo! Exactly. It's our very first. Big deal. And hopefully not the last. So I'm Patrick Johnson, co-organizer of AWE Nite SF and CEO of Rock Paper Reality. And I've just got to say, we've got an incredibly special show planned for everyone tonight, featuring the one and only Ori Inbar, founder of AWE. It was a pretty good Freudian slip, and of Super Ventures, and Abigail Fraser, VP Marketing at Lorval. And also, I believe the Spatial team is going to do a little bit of talking about the platform as well. Ori is going to be giving a walkthrough of AWE's history and what's to come for the upcoming event in Santa Clara, November 9th through 10th. And just before we get started, I want to welcome everyone to join the conversation on social channels using hashtag AWE Nite SF. So please post about the event. We'll also be recording and live streaming tonight's event so you can relive the awesomeness, and be sure to share it with your friends. We're just about at that 5,000 person. We've been there for a while now. We really want to hit it. So just spread the good word. And finally, if you plan on attending the AWE conference in November this year, we have a special discount code that offers 20% off both the 3-day and the 2-day all access passes for the AWE Nite SF community. And I'm sure there's a special one, Ori, that you can share with the New York one as well. You got it? So for SF, it's AWE Nite SF 20D on checkout, and that'll give you your 20% discount. So that's all I've got. Are you guys all ready for the show? All right.
Yay.
So I'd like to go ahead and let's kick it off with Ori. Ori, let me go ahead and welcome you to the stage. Give it up for Ori.
Hey, everybody. Can you see me all here? This is where we're starting the tour, so we want to gather around. You may stay seated so we can actually see everybody. Thank you for joining on Nite SF and New York City with Spatial. It's a very special meetup for us today. And it's not really about the history of AWE. It was never about AWE. It's about the history of XR, but through the lens of the AWE conference, which we like to think has been kind of following the ups and downs of the industry and helped make a dent along the way. So as you can see here, that we have a bunch of images. Instead of slides, I'm going to walk through them and tell the story. But let's keep it interactive. So I'm going to ask you questions. I want to hear people participating. If you have comments or questions or anything to say about what we're talking about, please jump in. We'll see if we can manage that without having too many voices at once, but we got to try it out. So I want to have just special thanks for the organizers of this meetup, Patrick, Tom, and of course Wen and Myung, which put this an incredible layout together. For me, it's going to be a huge thrill to go through that with you guys. Ready to get started? Woo!
Sure.
Okay. Everybody has to unmute first, right? It takes like 5 seconds.
Yay!
But that's okay.
Woo!
All right. Ooh, I can see myself. That's scary. No, please don't show it to me. All right. So we're going to start here. You see the start sign. And we're going to do a complete tour and then look into the future. So yeah, AWE started in 2010. As you can see, it was still called ARE, or Augmented Reality Event. A few entrepreneurs got together, decided that it's such an early stage in this industry that we have to join forces and get the people together and start advancing it. So T-Shoot, which you may know, Worley, Andrea Lowry, which is here somewhere in the room, still with us 12 years later. We put it together. We had, like 300 people in a room. Very weird experience for the fact that, nobody really understood outside of that room. Nobody really had an idea what AR is about. And we were talking about, concepts, ideas, weren't really showing real products at the time. So it was pretty fun. And as you can see, we had this really awkward or tagline, IR here, which up until today, we still don't know exactly what it means. But I guess the idea was that if up until now, nobody really heard about AR, AR is here now, and people need to start paying attention to it. I, of course, had my amazing cyberpunk glasses, which I still wear every conference to date. And yeah, it was awesome. By the way, as you can see here, we have plaques next to each image. So if you want to kind of read now or afterwards a little bit more to get more context about it. All right, so why did we start AWE or ARE as it was first called in 2010? What happened then that triggered the need for such an event? So let's look at our next panel right here. AR, of course, did not start then. It started in 1968 or 9, but then was hidden in labs all around the world. Just a few people were really passionate about it, were playing with it, were doing some cool stuff, like this amazing thing, which looks, I still like to say, looks ridiculous and awesome at the same time. Anyone can guess what this is? I'll let you unmute and see if anyone can recognize what this image is from. No? No one? Have even a hint. University of South Australia.
Ghostbusters?
What's that?
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters? No, but it does look similar. That's right. Anyone else? So this was a game called Quake AR. It actually, I think the first demo was done in like 2003 or 4. Some really talented scientists and developers put it together. And I believe this photo is from 2006 or 7, where it was kind of a more advanced version. And you can see they have everything there. They have the goggles, they have a huge GPS tracker on the back with a computer, and even a controller. It looks like a toy gun. And if you watch some of these videos, they look again ridiculous and awesome at the same time. Everything rattles around. You can't really understand what's going on, but you're actually fighting Quake monsters inside the university with occlusion, with everything, guys. This was incredible. Of course, they were trying to productize it to make it, something that can be sold to consumers. It was way, way, way too early for that. No computer power, not enough, algorithms were not there. And of course, awareness level was 0 at the time. So it was pretty tough. And anyone can guess what's here on the right? This weird device with all this stuff behind it. We have a guess? Anyone? All right, I can't hear if anyone is taking some guesses, but this is, the iPhone at that time was not there, or Android phones were not there, so people used whatever devices they had. And this, I believe, is the Microsoft, can you hear me, everybody? Yeah?
Very good.
Raise your hand. Okay. So this is the mobile device at the time. Was pretty customizable. So you see they added a camera, they added GPS, also all bunch of wires in the back. And that actually enabled you to walk in the room and scan it and be able to place AR content in there. So it actually worked. But again, who would use this, right? Nobody. So again, that's the world in 2010. Oh, sorry, up until 2010. And then I'm going to move to the next one. And this is what happened in 2009, right? So first, you had the iPhone announcement. All of a sudden, you had this perfect device for AR with all the ingredients, with GPS, with sensors, with an SDK. Actually, when it launched, the SDK was very limited, and you had to jailbreak the phone in order to be able to develop AR content for it, which is what Vuforia did. Vuforia is kind of the first major tracking system. But there was not much done on mobile devices at the time. Most of it was done on webcams, like this one. If you see kind of the campaign here from General Electric, GE Electric, can't remember the name exactly, but they created this amazing campaign that was working with the webcam. So you would point this paper that you could print yourself at home, and then this incredible scene unfolded to help educate people about windmills and how you can use it for sustainability. But I think up until today, the visuals here in the interactivity was pretty top notch. Of course, we had this little thing here. Android also popped up, and right away, a guy from Salzburg, Austria, created this incredible application called Wikitude, which allowed him, that video is still so cool. You can watch it on YouTube. He kind of points the Android phone to a hill 3 miles away, and it pulled information from Wikipedia and showed information about the castle on that hill. That was mind-blowing. Everybody kind of got really excited about that. You have, of course, this card with a baseball player on it. Anyone knows what company did this? Any guesses? Are you just on mute, or nobody really knows?
Facebook, Google.
Facebook, not Facebook or Google. This is from Total Immersion. Total Immersion was the top dog in 2009 and 10 in terms of AR. They were making the most money. They had the best technology. And at the time, they were the top dog. And then you have this cover for Esquire magazine. It wasn't the first, but it was the most talked about campaign in AR up until that point. Of course, with Robert Downey Jr. sitting in this position and made a lot of noise. And then, Google Goggles started at the time. That, of course, became Google Lens, and now it's really integrated into most of Google's products. But it started back then and was kind of the first glimpse into using visual search. I missed this one, Xbox Kinect, which was another big player in AR at the time. And it allowed, gesture interaction for activation, for campaign, and a bunch of things. So that's a lot of things that happened pretty much in 2009. And that was kind of the big trigger for AWE. We felt like an industry is being born, and there's a need to really help make it happen. So let's take a look at the next panel right here. This is from Google Trends, and it shows how the interest in AR, just based on Google searches, was pretty much flatlined up until 2009. And then all of a sudden it skyrockets. Again, another another kind of reason for this, for AWE to be born. I want to point out this next slide, which is the the Fortune 1000 companies that actually attended the first AWE in 2010. And it's pretty amazing. You have companies here like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, which they've been doing AR way before anyone in the business world. And of course, we're kind of showing some of their work at the event. But also a bunch of consumer packaged goods like P&G, PepsiCo, Kimberly-Clark, that realized that there's huge potential in using AR for enhancing their product packaging. Of course, you have, the big players, Qualcomm, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're all here, and they all stayed in it and invested a lot. Apple is still missing here, but they will come in a second. And all the other players, Adobe and Autodesk realized this is going to be the next 3D design tool. So you have to kind of get into it. So that's Fortune 1000 companies. Now let's look at the top dogs, which is in the next panel right here. These are all the companies that exhibited or spoke at AWE in 2010. Again, you can see Total Immersion as by far the number one, followed closely with Metaio. Total Immersion was a French company, Metaio a German company. They actually also started in about 2004. And by this time, they had, one of the best SDKs for mobile, as well as a browser, AR browser. And of course, Vuforia is here, just freshly acquired by Qualcomm. I would love to tell you the story about how I was involved in this step of kind of Vuforia becoming what it is, but we'll leave it for maybe afterwards when you have some more time. AR Toolworks, open source AR, which was cool. Of course, Wikitude, and then some other names that you may recognize but are not here anymore, like Layer, Crosshair. But here, Occipital, still going strong. Who else? Let's look at some of the acquisitions. 13th Lab, very, very strong SLAM capabilities out of Scandinavia. Anyone knows who acquired it? No one? Well, you can choose from probably 3 or 4 companies that did most of the acquisitions since then. Facebook, Apple, Google, and Snapchat and Niantic, I guess. Although Niantic at that point was not making acquisitions. So yeah, 13th Lab was acquired by Apple at the time, and it was kind of helped them advance their tech capabilities. My headset power is low. Wow, it's going to be a problem. And then, of course, Augmento, company that I founded back then, which later was acquired also. Anyone knows by whom? I cannot hear anyone. Apple, that's right. And that kind of became the foundation for ARKit. And then in the bottom, you can see a bunch of smart glasses companies. And amazingly, you have Lumos, Vuzix, and Digilens, which are still going strong, one of the leaders in the space. Others didn't make it so much. So that's kind of the where we were with the top dogs in AR back then. Now let's move to some of the people. These are all the speakers that we had back then. And you can see again that many of these names are still some of the top voices, top thought leaders in the space. You have, Paul Travers, CEO of Vuzix. You have Mark Billingers, of course, still one of the leading, and Stephen Feiner, one of the leading researchers in AR. Christine Perry, that founded the Area and one of the leading consultants in AR for Enterprise. And a lot more. You even have an investor, Kurt Westcott, which invested in Metaio and was talking about kind of his experience from an investor perspective. So do we have anyone from this list here today with us? I guess not. But these are Marco Tempest, of course. Shouldn't miss Marco, the AR magician, which became a legend since then with, like a top TED speaker and so on. Avi Barzev. And on the art side, we have Ellen Papagiannis, which has been kind of one of the first major artists to focus their work on AR and still is going strong with that, as well as Amir Baradaran, which is also kind of one of the first artists that jumped on this bandwagon. I think we're running late, so let's move a bit quicker. I'm going to go to the next one. If you look at the interest in AR at that time, it was kind of flattening or going even down at some point. And the question is why? After this so much excitement around AR, why did that happen? Well, I think one of the main reasons is that the AR browsers became were kind of disappointing because the experience that was promised there was not good enough, especially in cities when you were pointing your phone up to see a restaurant and the restaurant was actually behind you. All these kind of things were kind of spelling some disappointment from AR until Google Glass. Google Glass, I like to say, is the best thing that happened for AR and also the worst thing that happened to AR. Best thing because, of course, the level of awareness skyrocketed at that time. You know, whenever I was traveling, the immigration officer asked, what do you do? And up until that point, I had to explain AR, and it was a very long and awkward discussion. But after this, when I would say, I'm in augmented reality, people would say, oh, like Google Glass. Here you go. So awareness definitely went to the sky here. But of course, we all know the flop in terms of the market acceptance of this. And that kind of created almost like a trough of disillusionment around smart glasses for a number of years. Okay. But let's move forward here into some of the glasses that were
showing me some
in 2013 in the market. Really cool looking glasses. You can see, of course, Google Glass. Cool to see kind of the first Meta, which was taking the Epson and kind of covering it with some lenses, plastic, and a depth camera. We have ODG, which went belly up since then. Recon, acquired by Intel. So remaining from this list is still Google Glass, Epson, Vuzix, Lumos, and Koppen, right? These are kind of the ones that survived since then and are still going strong. And that leads us to 2015. So 2015, we two things happened. One is VR resurrected after almost a couple of decades being, I guess, clinically dead, came to life. With the Oculus about a year and a half earlier, and then acquired by Facebook. So we brought in kind of the VR community. We worked with Upload to bring together the AR and VR world. And since then, of course, they were intertwined. And we chose this theme of superpowers because we believe that the idea that AR and VR can help you become better at anything you do, it basically gives you superpowers. And that message really resonated very well with the community. All right, moving back here. The same year, we also started AWE in China. So of course, we adapted the heroes to, anyone knows what this is? The terracotta soldiers in China, near Xi'an. So that's kind of their superhero. Everybody got it immediately over there. But of course, the idea of going into China was that no matter what, it represents the biggest market for AR. And we knew that the community has to be connected tightly into what's happening in China, to really be able to capture the full opportunity. So now let's look at where are we with the trends. So we saw, the first kind of AR browsers and campaigns in 2009 and 10, kind of doing kind of a big jump, then Google Glass, then kind of a lull area, the 13, 14, 15, wasn't really a lot happening there until three things happened. Pokemon Go, no need to say much more about that. HoloLens introduced as kind of the best. Wait, did I miss some things? Anyway, never mind. And HoloLens is kind of probably the best AR headset we've ever seen. And Snapchat, popularizing the idea of AR through social filters. So the opening keynote in 2016 felt so much better than the last few years with all this craziness happening around AR, so much interest. Although it was, gaming and social, but it gave a lot of energy to the whole movement. And then after that in 2017, that was really the big breakthrough with ARKit, ARCore kind of being born actually right after AWE that year, but feeding a lot of energy into everything and really starting this incredible movement among developers start developing for AR and VR. And that's, of course, when the AR cloud idea came about, because, we felt like ARKit and ARCore are great, but they're not going to enable the mainstream to adopt it because, of course, AR has to be persistent and shareable. Until then, it's only going to be a niche product. So these are some of the milestones. Let's move on. At that point, we felt like we have to elevate the message beyond just, making us all better, but also use this technology for the good of society. So it's now superpowers to change the world. And we brought a lot of use cases that were proving that point. And then in 2018, that really felt like a turning point in the market. We were starting to see revenues growing, Fortune 1000 companies adopting it across the board, it meaning AR and VR. And it felt like we're at this point about to jump. Was it true? Pretty close, but probably a bit too early. And the theme of that year was, actually this was not the real theme. The theme was go XR or go home, because we felt like this maybe is too harsh, but I still think that was the right message, because it felt like, we're getting into a new wave of technology, and if we don't adopt it, and when I say we, it's enterprises, developers, investors, Fortune 1000 companies, then you'll just go extinct like all the previous waves of technology. And lo and behold, just look at the number of Fortune 1000 companies participating in the event, speaking or participating. You see representation from almost every single industry. Pretty amazing list. So kind of to summarize, the growth of AWE from 2010, where it was just a tiny little corner in the convention center in Santa Clara, to occupying the entire space in 2019. And of course, that became kind of the main draw at this point, because people came in to try out all these amazing new gadgets. So we're almost completing the tour now. Going back to 2010. So in 2010, when the conference started, it actually was produced by a nonprofit organization called augmentedreality.org. And we said, we have to find a mission that unifies the entire community, everyone in it. And that message was to advance augmented reality, to advance humanity, with a moonshot of inspiring, crazy number, 1 billion users of AR by 2020. By far the craziest prediction ever made. But incredibly, this is here from the Facebook F8 in 2019, where they announced that 1 billion people have tried AR experiences. This is just with Facebook, not even including Snapchat. So, you could argue we're not active users. I think today we're probably around the 600 million active users or so, or getting there. But that's incredible that we actually achieved this goal. So now kind of looking forward into the future, if in the past 10 years was really about getting the community together and creating awareness and penetrating the mainstream, I think you all agree that we're now entering the mainstream, and now we need to look forward into the next 10 years. The next 10 years is what you can see here on the Spatial World front page, which is kind of an exercise that we did last year. Try to envision, instead of taking step by step how we'll get to the future, let's look back from 2030. What's the world that we want to live in by then, with the impact of AR and VR on all aspects of our lives? And again, here we can spend probably a day just arguing about this. The first question is, why would anyone use a newspaper in 2030? Of course. But, and the thing that you can see here is Zuck is still there, hasn't aged a day, which is another proof he's a robot. But it's kind of, you can see that, privacy is going to be a big thing over the next 10 years. And I predicted that, privacy will be won by consumers. So we can talk a lot about how we get to that point. But you can see, the market size is $1 trillion by that time. 3 billion daily users of AR and VR. The AR cloud is really covering almost the entire world in real time and gets through first. So a lot of good things, including impact on healthcare, on on how to reskill a lot of the employees that were let go because of automation and many other things. So this is it. November 9 through 11 in Santa Clara. The big thing I want to say about this is that it's going to be in person, not like this, which is what is getting everybody excited, and me too. We can try some new gadgets. We can meet each other. It's going to be fantastic. And again, you have this special discount code here you can use for a 20% discount. But if you want to speak, if you want to exhibit, this is a great time to submit online. Just go to our website. That's all I have. I think took twice as long as I was allocated, but hopefully you got something out of it. Any questions?
Yeah.
Any comments before my power runs out?
That was amazing. Thank you, Ori. Appreciate
That
it.
was really good, Ori.
I think I'm going to switch to the computer now because my headset is about to die. Patrick, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Ori. I think so. I would say either Jake or Abby. I mean, to be honest, like either or right now. Who's ever ready to kind of present next? I think it would be great to kind of get a lowdown of the spatial environment. But yeah, whoever
Yep.
wants to kind of take.
Sure, we're a
take
package
lead.
deal, I think.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll start and I'll introduce Abby. I think a lot of people, that are part of the amazing AWE organization are very familiar with spatial in a lot of respects, but we've come, I think, a long way over the last few years, especially over the last year or so. So hi everybody. Jake Steinerman. I am Spatial's head of community. Super excited to be here. Thank you to the whole AWE group for AWE SF and AWE New York and for putting this on and for hosting it in Spatial. This is super exciting. I think especially because I just noticed that the 2021 theme for AWE is It's Time to Go Spatial. So that I think that is, we had no part in that tagline, but I think we are very much in favor of that tagline for many reasons, which is really great. So it's really awesome to have you all here. I think for those who are familiar with Spatial or have heard of us, we're, for those who haven't, we're a platform that just allows you to create virtual spaces that bring everyone together. And that's, of course, never been more important than it has been over the last year. We've all had Zoom fatigue. We're all tired of sitting in front of our computers. I think it's been a huge breakout moment for XR and virtual reality, augmented reality, all of it. And it's been really incredible to see. For those who know Spatial, we got our start originally back in 2017, really focused on augmented reality and productivity. How can you make people feel like they're in the same place, even when they're not? Really starting on the Microsoft HoloLens, and then have your colleagues join you as holograms of themselves, virtual representations of themselves in augmented reality. And then over the past year, we've really seen a shift in a lot higher interest in all kinds of devices, primarily virtual reality devices like the Oculus Quest and the Quest 2, which has hit the market over the last year. Because people want to be in other spaces. They want to feel that sense of presence next to each other. They want to go to faraway worlds. And they want to go really anywhere they can. And virtual reality allows you to do that. So we've seen a huge uptake in virtual reality across all different kinds of sectors and platforms. So we've really come a long way from where we started in being an AR productivity platform to really being really where we're going is essentially a metaverse platform, allowing people to easily create spaces and worlds without having to be developers and designers, and then share those spaces and experiences with whoever they want. So we've had a big focus on really, we've called it 5 seconds to spatial. How do you get people into a virtual environment super quickly? And a big part of that has been accessibility and rolling out access to these environments across any platform, including the web, which I think a number of you are on here joining from the web, and that's been a really big, really big for us to get to that point. So it's been really exciting to see almost like a whole new generation of users joining from really experiencing, what's the metaverse really. And you heard Facebook recently come out and said they want to be a metaverse company. I think that term is going to start to take hold a lot more, and you're going to have a lot more people get exposed to this because the technologies are getting better. You can access these spaces from web browsers. The Oculus Quest in particular, of course, one of the most popular devices on the market, is getting crazy adoption, both with consumers and with enterprises. So I think the technology usually speaks for itself, and you're all in Spatial now. I'm not going to go into different features of the platform. I think the best way to really understand what it's capable of isn't really to hear from me. I mean, I can talk about Spatial all day. I think the best way to hear about it is from someone and an organization that uses it every single day for absolutely everything they do. That's why I asked Abby here from Lorval. They're an incredible company that's actually been remote first for a long time, since 2004 or something like that.
Yeah.
But have, and I'll let you get into all this, but they've actually gone VR first and spatial first for absolutely everything that they do. So Abby, I'll let you take it away and get into all the different ways you're using VR, and it's really incredible to see you guys kind of take the mantle and really be a leader in this space. So go for it.
Yeah, sure. This is fun. I really needed that walkthrough. Thank you, Ori. This is my first introduction to AWE and to some of the world of AR. I started at Lorval in January as they were in the middle of this transition. So I come from a background in marketing and education marketing. So I knew, cloud-based curriculum, but I didn't know anything about this world. So I've been dove in head first. But the company, if you don't know Lorval, is a totally remote company. It's been around about 15 years. And we are kind of the mini Bloomberg for pharma. We sell intelligence, reporting, data to pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies. We work with all 15 of the top 15 pharma that you've heard of, and a lot of the little guys doing amazing things. We're especially interested in cancer research and being a part of the solution for that enormous human need of cancer. So our CEO, Bruno Lorval, is an innovator at heart. He's experimented with everything there is as technology has evolved. And as soon as someone put a headset on his head, he said, there's something here. So the initial interest on his part was, how can we use AR and VR to display cancer data, to give our customers a better picture of what they're dealing with, or a clinical trial, or to get oncologists in the same space to talk about what they're learning. But quickly, he also learned this would be a better way to collaborate with our team. We have a team of about 200 team members all across the world, huge portion of those in countries not the US. So we've always struggled with collaborating and wanting that next thing. By the time everyone was getting Zoom fatigue this year, they had it 5 years ago. So they started out having team meetings on MSN Messenger and just always wanted the next thing. So as soon as the headset was an opportunity, he had a Quest 2. He got a few of the other executives Quest 2s, and they started to experiment with this. And it didn't take long for it to become the goal, to go VR first. And that did take some convincing, right? It's a little bit of a headache to try a new technology, literally sometimes and figuratively, but as soon as you got people in the same room, we found that the same space, like Spatial, actually is the place that this clicked for us. We were in that auditorium space, which if you haven't seen is pretty amazing, and it's a beautiful sunset outside. We're all in the same room, 10 or so of us, and it feels like we didn't know we were missing this connection. It felt so much more real and so much more human even though we don't have legs and we all looked very strange, it felt more human. And that was a really cool experience. And from there, it just became the mission to go all the way. So at this point, we've committed to being VR first. Bruno's probably in his headset 8 hours a day. I tap out at like 5, but we do everything we can in Spatial and in experimenting with other platforms too and tools. But Spatial, we've built our headquarters there. So as of now, we have, I think, about 60% of the company on headset and more coming as they reach sort of, 3-month or 1-year milestones. It's kind of part of our onboarding process. And we have our own, solo rooms. I have a marketing team room where my team can play tic-tac-toe and experiment with whiteboards. We have an NFT art gallery that we had custom built to host events like this one. We have a ton of different spaces, and we're making new ones all the time, to the point we needed a VR intern to help us keep our, keep our books and keep things in order. So it's been a really neat tool for us for collaboration and proximity too. So I didn't know I was going to be such a huge advocate for VR this year, but it's become a huge part of what I do and how I think about, even where we can go in the future. We've committed now. I think Bruno says we're the first colony on the metaverse. So the first company doing this. You guys would tell me if I'm wrong, but to be a company that has nothing to do with selling, VR or software or headsets, but to be there just because we believe in it and we believe that's the future. So we're the first colony on the metaverse, and I'm sure you'll all come and join us. But it's fun now to talk to even some of our customers, small pharmaceutical companies, are interested in using it for getting oncologists together to look at data, for having collaboration as they think about what the return to work looks like. Maybe their VR is a part of that. So we hope to keep evangelizing for that, and would love to show any of y'all our spaces. If you want to come and have a tour, that's one of my favorite things to do. I brought our gallery environment, but I don't want to break anything, Jake. So you tell me if you think that's a good idea. But
Yeah, I don't know when or the others from the AWE team that set up the space. If you've saved this room as a template, so you can basically save entire spaces as a template. Abby came with some templates so we can basically teleport you to a space in here by loading up her entire space. But what that does is clear all the things that you have in here.
Yeah.
We don't want to clear all the hard work that you put into the space here. So I don't know if you had saved this space as a template.
Not
We
yet.
haven't
Okay.
yet. Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know. I think Wen has to do it because he's the host.
Yeah, no problem.
Right.
I'll share a link and people can hit me up if you want to check it out. But we have the two stories I like to tell are, we have one colleague who he used to work in a lab, and now he works at a desk, and so he needs something to tinker with. And he has spent every weekend customizing his office in Spatial to the point that it is like a museum. He's hidden things in the walls. There's a chess set. I mean, it's out of control. Sometimes I could just go just to see what he's doing in there, and or to move things around, because then he can't find them. So that's fun. And then the other one is this, and we built that with just one of the Spatial, rooms that is out of the box. They're always putting out some really cool spaces. And then we also, for a big event, we wanted to kind of introduce VR to our industry, to pharma and to the oncology community. At the end of a big oncology conference this year, we hosted a big party for the top oncologists and pharma VIPs, and we did that in Spatial in a custom environment that a group out of Dallas, M2 Studios, built for us. That was a museum. It was like, this is a beautiful space. This is just a little bit more edgy, and it has like a glass ceiling, and it's nighttime on the side of a cliff where you can see the sea, and everything is kind of angular and cool. And we actually started our NFT collection. So we were introducing them to that whole world. So that's a really fun space I'd love to show you all too, to think about the ways, not even to just getting business done, collaborating, but using VR as a launching point for giving people a new experience that they then connect with your brand and think about you as an innovative partner.
Yeah,
Was there
definitely.
anything else you wanted me to share?
I have a question.
That covers, I think it's, yeah, go there. There's a question. Yeah, let's go for it.
Thanks, Jake. Hi, Abby. My name's John. I work for a global creative agency. One of the largest pharma companies is my main client. So to hear you speak about oncologists, it's my day job. So that's pretty exciting. But my interest is in being one of the first kind of, as you said, colonized metaverse companies, which is a whole new phrase. I love that. I totally get, decking out an environment and inviting people in and having meetings and stuff. How have you found the actual live working piece of collaborating in something like Spatial? I mean, I know I've already synced my Google Drive. I've already collaborated on a live Google Slides deck with someone. We've reviewed creative storyboards in Spatial before, but I'm just keen in the real world, in a real company. What does, like, you said you're in 5 hours a day. Are you working, or what does it mean to exist as a business, just in addition to just meeting and bringing people in to see the space?
Totally. That's a great question. And it's one of the biggest, changes, getting used to how are you going to do work? What kind of work are you going to do? What kind of work do you need to meet with someone to do? And what kind of work do you do better on your own? You're just kind of shifting that gear. Everything, we actually, for all the time we spend in Spatial, we try to be a very low meeting company. So there's an interesting twist there. But I found that on the Mac, the Spatial Cast makes it very easy to do almost anything you could do on the web. It brings it in almost seamlessly, audio and everything. That's really nice. And I'm hoping that that's in the roadmap for Windows as well. But all those things you mentioned, we do as well. Also, and every time I've hung out with the Spatial team in Spatial, I learned something else. They use the little colored note cards to organize things and to use the tools that are there in a different way. It's still, it's not as fast as hopping on a Zoom call, but there's so many other benefits that for the right projects. And I find it's a lot more productive conversations. So because I'm not looking at 5 other things, even with a group of maybe even 10 people, on a Zoom call, everyone's not paying attention. But in Spatial, you can see them nodding. You can see where they're looking. You can tell if they're doing something else. You can take notes, even on audio. So it's a little bit of a nice brain. It's good work for your brain to figure out, how are we going to use this right and experiment. And some things don't work. We've had things fail and be like, well, we can't do that here yet. Let's try something else. One interesting thing we did is we wanted to have our whole company in one room, our all hands meeting for the quarter. And so far, every platform has this limitation. About 35 people is about all the pixels it can handle. And so we had to get really creative and took them on a tour of everyone was for 10 minutes in 5 different rooms, and they just moved around, and the presenters stayed in one room and different people came to them, almost like this tour. So you just have to stretch a little bit, and we always leave a buffer for people to disappear and come back and, find the right room. But I've been at the little bit of headache it's been in that sense. You can still we're still going fast. We still have big objectives, and it's not really slowing us down.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. And so you feel these practices that you've been able to master during this COVID, everyone's remote type environment, even as we return to the workplace, or many companies do you feel that many or all of these practices will sustain when the entire world opens up and the majority are back in office again? Do you think it'll sustain?
That's interesting. For us, it will personally, because we never had an office, but our customers, you're right, will be back in office for the most part. So that will be interesting to see. But to date, we really haven't had, it's mostly internal that we've been working besides these special events. So we'll see. We're hoping to host some ad boards in VR this year. So that'll be an interesting, if we get to that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you, Abby. That was great. Thank you.
So actually, I'll bring in the video so you can see some of our spaces.
Maybe are you all using Quest 2 or some other headsets?
Quest 2 or on the web. We probably have still 20 to 25% still on the web. That's the office I was talking about.
Nice.
That's before you had a test set.
Jake, could you explain Cast to us? Is this just the ability to play movies inside of Spatial, or?
Yep. Yeah, so this is a little different. So this is my Mac desktop. So I went on.
It's a desktop.
Yeah, so it's different than like the web screen share, in that it's like a low to zero latency screen sharing solution for the desktop. For right now for Mac, we're working on bringing it to Windows as well. but you can see here I mouse, and you can kind of see my hand. My Quest is doing hand tracking on my hand because I put my controllers down. So I can basically, work in Spatial. I just cast in my desktop, and now, we all here are kind of centered around my computer, so I can bring up, a Word document, or I can bring up, whatever, and we can all just work, and I can just use my keyboard, which is right here in front of me, and my mouse, and just, use my computer as if.
So it's basically remote desktop. It's like remote
Yeah,
desktop.
Yeah,
super
it is.
fast. Yeah.
It is local, since we have to start cast on the desktop itself. But the benefit of that, we have, it becomes social, and I can also have my Mac on a giant screen now.
Yeah.
Much bigger than I already have a big screen, but an even bigger one. So that's kind of the benefits of it. And then as more, as like the Quest and other devices add more tracking capabilities and things like, they just announce pass-through, and keyboard tracking and those things, we'll start to bring aspects of that into the platform too. So you'll just have more of that hybrid work experience. You can bring in your actual workstation into a VR experience like this. And to your question also around, people going back to work as well. There's the big topic is, the idea of hybrid work and what that's going to mean. So you're going to have companies that, have offices and want people to come back into the office. But then of course you've had people who have gotten so used to this idea of working from home and don't want to come into the office, or, you have people working from home 1 or 2 days a week. And other people, you just have this mixed work culture, and the ability to have everyone feel included in that, whether you choose to work from home or whether you choose to come into the office, that's going to be really important, how you deliver that, and doing things like a virtual headquarters where everyone is in the virtual space, whether that's through an AR headset or a VR headset. That just from an inclusivity perspective, I think is really the only way forward. It's not, no one wants to be doing, a 2D version of, Zoom or Teams forever. And there's no way to, you can't really, we've all seen, there's no good way to have an effective hybrid work model when you're just staring at a 2D screen. So that's where these technologies are going to really come into play. And that's what I'm really excited about, to see them, because the technology's here, right? So it's pretty amazing that how things have sort of fallen together, right? If this would have happened, if pandemic is horrible, of course, but if this happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had these kind of technologies, ready for us. You saw Ori go through the history of it, and the technology is extremely advanced back then, but it's in, of course, an even better place today.
Totally.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Hi.
Is what sort of use cases? This is Nicole speaking, I think. So what use cases are the most beneficial for running in Spatial? Like, where do you see the biggest bang for the buck? Where do you see the largest ROI for using this platform? Which is cool.
Yeah, Abby, do you want to talk about some of the use cases you guys?
Well,
I
for
can
us,
get into some of the
there's
ones
two
we see
main
across.
ones. There's internal collaboration, and then there's two internal collaboration, actually working on a project together, and two, culture. We were a kind of a rudderless, we had no home, and to have a place we can come, we can invite people to come and get together in one place. As a remote company, it really does feel like human proximity. Externally, it's been really neat to as an experience for customers. So like I said, we hosted this large event. We've also had some, when you send someone a headset, at this point in the evolution of this, when you send someone a headset, they're agreeing to meet with you a few times. So there's an interesting aspect there of courting. With pharma, there's compliance issues. It's a loan, they can return it. But there is an element of them committing to a bit of a partnership to think about the future differently and to align your company with forward thinking. So at this point, before everyone's doing it, I think there's a big advantage to that as a marketing tool.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
from a larger perspective too, we're seeing that and more with our user base too, and we're starting to see this concept of the work metaverse really popping up, and all the different use cases that there are there. Everything from our big focus initially was 3D data review. Companies like Mattel bringing in their CAD models and their engineers and designers so they can come into a space and review like new toy designs and things like that and mark them up with sticky notes and 3D annotations and stuff like that. But then that's really started to expand to, this is, I love this space because it really gets to that point of more immersive and engaging presentations with that sense of presence, because you don't have to be sitting in front of a screen and looking at one slide at a time. You can really be immersed, have an experience around, points you're trying to make. So having this kind of historical timeline of like, the history of XR and AWE is a really great example of what a lot of companies are doing, is that you can take in a lot of information at one time. Whether you're doing, a design thinking session or a product planning session, or if you just want to, we see a lot of companies that just want to do virtual offsites, right? How do we stay bonded with our coworkers when we're all, separate from one another and remote from one another? There's only so many, games you can play on a Zoom call to feel connected with one another. But when you can actually go to, a bonfire under the stars, which is one of the
I was actually,
spatial.
I was going to mention that the way you can change the tone of a meeting or a room on the fly is really interesting. We have our Monday executive calls around a board table, but if the topic gets different, we need to think differently, we can change it to a bonfire, and then we're all sitting on the shore together, and it really just changes your whole mindset. You can kind of shake things. Oh, I was like, what's happening? There we go. Thanks, Jane. Yeah. So you can come here. There it is. Wow.
So yeah, I just temporarily changed the environment. We'll change it back to the gallery, but yeah, now we got a lakeside. Where is it? Over there. We got the northern lights above us. We can have a literal fireside chat next to the bonfire. And the benefit is you never have to keep the bonfire going. It's an everlasting flame. It's a little biblical, but you got this great bonfire here too. So
how do you switch
like Abby
environments, Jake?
So under settings, there's a change environment button. There is 7 different options right now for those that you can change to different settings like the auditorium, boardrooms. But then you can also take any 3D model that you upload into the space and set that as an environment as well. So the sky's the limit in terms of the types of spaces that you can have. This is one of our more traditional lounge space. We got some nice lounge chairs outside over here.
I think they would like the abstract one, Jake.
They want to change to abstract. That's I call it the matrix space.
I think it's Harry Potter.
That too. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it's kind of the infinite space. Let me see if I have any. Oh, is this, which one is this? Oh yeah, so this is I think, oh yeah, this is the gallery space.
This might
so
be,
this is
this is like
a
ours.
large gallery.
Yeah,
So
that'd be like ours. That's good.
There we go. Sorry for the frame rate drop there for a second. So we can come and look at this. You can just come here and look at this model, like we're all kind of doing a model overview, but I can actually, or anyone really, can set this model as our shared virtual environment. So I'm going to click a button here. You're going to see my hand start to do like I'm swimming or something. But I'm just setting this model as the shared space. Give me 1 second. No. That looks about right. Hold on to your hats. And hopefully you don't have a fear of heights. Just as you temporarily load in the custom environment. That just takes a second.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry, battery died.
Oops.
Yeah, I had to get
Give this a second. There we go.
There it is. There it is.
Now if you turn around over here, come and join me in this large gallery space. Da-da-da. Come on down. I think I scaled this a little too big.
That's okay.
No, it's great. It's great this way.
The benefit the benefit of the metaverse is that you can make buildings as large as you want.
I was
Very
just gonna
quickly.
put one of our NFTs up on the wall.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've got some here too.
So Abby, you build NFTs for
Bring an
oncologists?
Well, we built a museum for them. I like this one.
Wow.
This is just a video actually, but I can't make it.
We've got to
bigger.
talk about how to get oncologists on this thing.
Yes, for sure. Oh, that's a good one. Let me see. Where's my actual? Oh, I don't have the actual MetaMask wallet. I can't do that, but.
This one is actually on auction at Christie's.
Oh,
believe it or not.
cool.
There you go.
That's
Some of them
cool.
have audio too. Trying to find one that has some music. Get the vibes going in here.
I kind of like it this large, Jake. It feels like
Feels
really
amazing.
big.
Yeah, larger than
This
life.
is the
It's a huge
biggest
space.
room
You
I've
can-
been in so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we now support. We've updated it. We now support, I think, spaces that are about 200 by 200 meters.
So for the
you can
average
get some pretty big
non-creative
spaces.
person, Jake, how long would it take to put together something this big?
I'm gonna.
Hey Toshi, what's up?
So someone's asking me. Okay, I'm gonna turn on spatial audio. I'm gonna turn on spatial
Yes,
audio so
yes,
that
we
we
can
can
see
have
it.
separate
Looks great.
Yeah.
conversations. There we go. All right, that's better. So sorry, John.
Hey,
I didn't know
Jake.
you had
Yeah.
a question.
Hey man,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to dive away before my battery died. I had to plug in.
Really?
That's all good. So you're saying how
And-
long does it take
yeah,
to like
yeah,
make a
this
space
is
this big?
for
Yeah,
a
yeah. So
smartphone,
if
that
I
should
wanted
be
to, I
sick.
mean, as a non-designer, but you know, enough to be dangerous, how long might it take to leverage a template or build? Does this need to be built from scratch to create something as wide and open as this?
No, it doesn't. Obviously, there are studios that that are 3D modeling studios. Abby mentioned, M2 is one that we work really closely with. They know how to build things that are very optimized and performant, but still really nice. So bring in environments like this. You can do something as simple as downloading something off of Sketchfab and then just import the 3D model into Spatial. You can bring in any 3D model.
Okay, so you're typically
you want.
designing off platform and bringing 3D models into the platform.
Yeah. So we're not, we don't
Got it.
see ourselves as ever replacing like a Blender or like a 3ds Max or anything like that. We're just see ourselves as very cross-platform and ingest anything you want to have a shared virtual experience.
I
So
see.
you would, create it on Blender or whatever platform and then just bring it in to Spatial and then you can create that into a shared experience. So we have a lot of like 3D artists and 3D render artists who are starting to bring in, like typically they would just do a rendered image and post that on like Instagram or an NFT marketplace. But what they're doing is they can just export that 3D rendered scene, optimize it a bit so it can run on a Quest, and then just import that model or the animated model into Spatial and set it as the environment. Now it becomes a shared virtual experience, a collaborative experience that we can all step inside.
Yeah, exactly. A group I'm working with has leveraged some of the template files and brought assets in and kind of made it a home. But we've also collaborated with folks like Krista Kim, who builds these custom experiences too. She's been an advisor that does some of this magic stuff. And I just wonder, does it happen off platform and brought in, or can you do it inside? But it sounds like you do it outside and bring it in. That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. This is a 3D model, animated 3D model. Here.
Oh, nice.
This is cool.
Oh, hey, dude.
Yeah. That's Alex. He is the UN's first digital ambassador. Fun fact.
That's cool.
And then we can also set the skybox. So I'm going to change the outlet scene to the Milky Way here so it can be in space. There we go. So now if you look outside, we're in outer space. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Patrick is huge now. Oh my god. This feels like
Big
the
brother.
1984 Apple advertisement. Yeah. Someone have a hammer we can throw at him?
Exactly.
So yeah, let's see if I have any other environments. I didn't realize I had this one.
So Jake, do you bring in like an environment the same way you do the other assets, or is there a different process for that?
Yep. Yeah. So that just like you bring in any 3D model like this dancing Groot. It's not really an environment model, but any 3D model. And then if you point, like for those who are in VR, if you point at Baby Groot, you'll see there's a button that looks like a mountain on it. So that's the set. That's the set as environment button. So you literally click that and then go through another step just to get it to the right scale. And then that's how you set that model as the environment. So any 3D model can be the shared virtual space.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we can all dance with Baby Groot.
Hey.
All right. No, this is a custom environment. So this was one of Abby had mentioned a custom gallery space that was made for their NFT museum. This is actually that model for that space. So yeah, this is a custom space. We do have it listed on our support page for anyone to download and use. M2, the studio is letting anyone use this space if they want to within Spatial.
Cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. We have a huge event ongoing right now called Stratosphere. It's actually 500 NFT artists who are being showcased in Spatial, and they're doing an in-person event in Shanghai that's starting starting on Saturday. So it's kind of a hybrid event showcasing 500 NFT artists, which is really cool. And they're using this environment to do it. Yeah, so right now we do have a limit of 32 people per room. So that's like a technical limitation just from like, pixels we can render on a Quest and web and stuff like that. We are rolling out some additional features to help link rooms together more easily. So it'll still be 32 people in a room, but you can have a set of essentially like interconnected rooms that people can jump in and out of different spaces together. So right now it's the 32 person limit. So we tend to focus on more like smaller events. Yeah. Not yet.
Toshi, I've seen people make like several versions of the same room. If it's like an art situation where you want people to come and go, you can make different instances and just to provide all those links so people can find one that has room. But if you want them all to be a part of the same moment, that's a little bit different. But that's one way to think about it.
Yeah. Yep, it's all the same. All the same across, because in the web you have the full version of Spatial where you have your avatar and you can interact and move around just like everyone else. We don't support large events, but we do support large Groots, as you can.
Do you have tips and tricks on optimizing environments to bring into Spatial? Is there anything in particular that will, even if they download assets from the web, it probably needs to get optimized?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep that bigger. It looks like Ori's taking a selfie with Groot, so I'll keep it bigger. So the main thing I think is really around texture size. Is key. We support up to 2048 by 2048 texture sizes in models. So if you're able to keep that on the smaller side, and then also fewer objects. So I think below like objects within a model. So I think below 100 objects, if you can optimize that mesh to have as few objects as possible, that's ideal.
What about polygon counts? Is there a specific polygon count that you recommend in terms of
I'd have to
environments?
I'd have to defer to our friends at M2 Studios around that because it can vary greatly. The thing is, if you can keep something below 30 megabytes, which is our limitation,
okay.
and say below, I'd say 50 objects within a model, you
Mhm.
should be generally good.
Okay.
And for
Yeah.
beginners, Jake, that aren't expert 3D creators, were you saying like one of the great platforms to get started with to create models or environments without too much design expertise would be Blender, or is there another one that's a little more drag and drop for beginners?
Blender it's an open source platform and it's free, and there's a lot of great
Okay.
tutorials online to learn that. There's definitely it has a heavy learning curve, for sure. I mean, the easiest way to get started, honestly, is to go to a site like sketchfab.com, which has a huge
Sketchfab.
library. Yeah, it has a huge library of 3D models, and you can just filter on ones that are downloadable. There are tons that are free, and there's tons that are also for sale for like $5-10 as well. And then just the thing with those is they obviously can range. They may need some optimization, but a tool like Blender can do some optimization fairly easily. There's some good tutorials about that. So that's what I'm not a 3D modeling expert myself. What I tend to do is go to Sketchfab, find something I want, or something close to what I want. If it's above 30 megabytes, I'll bring it into Blender and do a decimation on it, which can take just a couple minutes to do, depending on the size, and then just export that as a GLB, which is what we convert to anyway. When you bring stuff into Spatial, we automatically convert it into a GLB file anyway. So having it as a GLB to start with just avoids any unexpected upload issues from what during that conversion process, and then just bringing the GLB file into Spatial and you're good to go.
Okay, so Sketchfab, something under 30 meg, sort by what you want and bring it straight in as, so what was the file format that Sketchfab, was it OBJ, did you say?
Sketchfab, it depends on the file itself. I think most files on Sketchfab tend to be GLTF or FBX,
Oh, GL.
Which work.
Okay.
Yeah, which work with us also. Like you can just bring those in as is into Spatial, which is perfectly fine.
Okay, and if something's bigger than 30 meg, bring it into Blender, optimize it down, export from there, then bring it in.
Yep, exactly.
John, you can
Perfect, thank you.
also, they added recently, I don't know how long ago, Jake, but this memory usage, if you go to your settings, you can kind of see the load on the room that you're in. And so you can tell if things start to slow down or get weird, you can kind of tell what's going on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I don't know
like
what
this
those
room's
stats
getting
mean,
close.
but I try to stay under the red line.
Yeah, that's a good practice. Yeah, it's just to avoid any performance issues on headset. Like we're getting close to like the texture memory because we have this space. We have a lot of models that we're starting to duplicate and things like that. So it just helps you be aware before we start hitting any performance issues.
And is that a mixture of bandwidth issue, specs of the headset, and the spatial application itself, or where is that strain coming from, or all
It's
three?
really just from the headset. So what the max texture memory limits from, like in this case, the Quest 2.
Ah, perfect. Yep.
And you need to bake all of the textures, right? Even for the environments.
Yeah, baking the texture. Yeah, you can see like some of the lighting here on the panels. Those are all baked light on those textures. So no dynamic lighting just yet. But yeah. What do you got here? Sure. 100%. Yeah,
That'd
I'll
be
switch
great.
back to the. Do we want to keep this space? Is that cool, or do you want to switch back to the smaller gallery space? It's all good. Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. Awesome. Yeah. Woo. High five. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Thank you, Patrick.